It's been a while, but Black Myth Wukong just got a massive update, adding significant new game modes, spicing up the game with further bug fixes and optimizations, PS5 Pro enhancements, and much more. Best of all this stuff is completely free, and is likely just the very beginning of what developer GameScience has in store for us Black Myth Wukong fans, as the confirmed and leaked paid expansion DLC we went over this past September will likely come as the game's first paid DLC offering. We've got a ton to cover here, diving deep into the new updates, plus taking a look at the future content of Black Myth Wukong. So smash that like button if you've been blessed by the greatness of Wukong, and if you're stoked for the future of the game. And before we get right into it, to celebrate the holiday cheer and one of 2024's greatest games, myself and GamerSupps have a special offer for all you awesome people out there, as for the next 48 hours, you will receive free shipping on all items worldwide. And if you're interested in something completely free at no cost to you, go ahead and pick up some free samples to get a taster of how awesome GamerSupps' energizing products truly are. For the free shipping on all orders, along with the free samples, simply use the link in the description and the pinned comment, and use the code FUNMYLIFE at checkout within the next 48 hours to secure the free shipping. As for the free samples, all you need to do is put in your name, address, and email. That's it. No credit card info required at all. Simply use the code FUNMYLIFE at checkout within the next 48 hours and you've got free samples delivered to your door. It's that easy. This is not only a great way to show your support to me as a content creator, but also a great opportunity to try GamerSupps risk-free and take advantage of the free shipping. Again, all links are provided in the pinned comment and the description, but enough of all that tasty stuff for now, right? It's time to dive into all the new and future content Black Myth Wukong has in store for us. During his acceptance speech after winning the Game of the Year award at the 2024 Golden Joystick Awards, GameScience producer Feng Ji hinted at some surprises that would hit the game later this year, which fueled some rumors of potential DLC hitting the game. Well, just a few days after the big event at the Game Awards, Black Myth Wukong received a massive update, an update that fixed a number of bugs pertaining to numerous areas of the game, as you can see here, with added tweaks to bosses and areas to smoothen out the experience, along with, perhaps biggest of all, introducing 2 brand new game modes. It seems GameScience has delivered on what fans have been wanting for quite a while, as the new mode is a boss rush mode called Challenge, which can be initiated at any of the Keeper's shrines after having beaten the game at least once. Here in Challenge mode, 2 challenges are currently on offer: Return of Rivals and Gauntlet of Legends. Just a brief rundown of what these modes are. Return of the Rivals allows players to duel any of the bosses in the game, along with offering 3 difficulty levels for each of the bosses. The second and more robust mode of the 2 is called Gauntlet of Legends, tasking players to battle against multiple foes in succession. What's cool about this mode is the amount of permutations that can be made to provide greater challenge by the way of curses. The rewards are pretty sick when completing these challenges at higher difficulty parameters though, as brand new treasures can be obtained, like new medicine, drinks and soaks, new curios, and best of all, new equipment and weapons to equip. What makes this update even better with these boss rush and wave-based modes is that some of the existing boss fights found in the main game contain brand new moves. So for all of us who have memorized a good amount of the boss fights in the main game, there's some new moves in here that will throw us all off guard. Now, all of this sounds incredible so far, right? Well, GameScience has gone the extra mile to give us a feature that many of us have wanted ever since the launch of the game: maps. That's right, my friends. Black Myth Wukong finally has fully functional and detailed maps with the new feature called Journeyer's Chart. These charts can be purchased at the Keeper's Shrine at each of the game's territories, containing a detailed layout of the area you are in, along with NPC information and more. In case that wasn't enough, my god, we are eating well with this update. GameScience threw in a Black Myth Wukong soundtrack selection, allowing players to play some of the incredible music within the game, and even giving us the opportunity to export some of these tracks. Just keep in mind, as per the patch notes, that not all the tracks can be exported due to copyright restrictions, but damn. Seldom do we see a developer go above and beyond here to not only celebrate the incredible success of the game and the upcoming Lunar New Year in January, but this is a major step in giving back to the community of fans that have enjoyed the game. It's an incredible gesture, and one we can all appreciate, but before we get into the awesome paid DLC stuff, I'd like you to let us all know in the comments if you've been enjoying any of the content included in this massive update so far. I'd also be remiss to say that PS5 Pro owners will enjoy the slew of enhancements made for that platform, as PSSR can be enabled. Along with higher clarity and detail, GameScience made sure to touch up some scenes in the game to better optimize the look and performance. The title is also shown to run much smoother in general while playing on performance mode, so this is a big win for those with the PS5 Pro. This game is going to be taking up my attention over the holidays as I try to obtain all the new equipment from these new challenge modes, but better yet, we can all rest assured that this recent update is absolutely not the end of Black Myth Wukong, as massive new DLC is being worked on for the game. Just a few short weeks after Black Myth Wukong released, GameScience investor Hero Games confirmed that plans were in motion to release an Elden Ring style expansion for Black Myth Wukong before more Black Myth games release. According to Daniel Wu of Hero Games back in early September, quote, GameScience is working on an expansion to Wukong, which will give it a chance to monetize the game a second time. 2022's Elden Ring, a title with similar playstyle and design, has shown how the release of an expansion, this year's Shadow of the Erdtree, can spur a fresh flurry of sales for the original. So while we just got a free DLC including a gauntlet challenge and a boss rush mode, this next DLC appears to be significant, adding brand new content to the game with new areas, quests, boss fights, story moments, gear, and more. Now, while Daniel Wu nor GameScience have come forward to specify what this paid DLC would be, we do have an insider with a great track record regarding Black Myth Wukong information who had a bit to share with us regarding such DLC content that could hit the game. All of this stems from one individual on X and Discord at Ignus the Wise, where this Chinese video game insider has shared rather a lot of information over on his Discord server. We have gone over Ignus the Wise's posts at length when covering Black Myth Wukong leading up to its launch, and well, that's because this user accurately leaked many features relating to the game months before the game dropped, pertaining to the number of boss fights and enemies in the game, other features like New Game Plus and multiple endings within the title, along with accurate info on trailer drops, pre-order information, to when the review embargo would lift, and a ton more. While Ignus has been very accurate with these things, his track record isn't 100% reliable, as he mentioned a demo would be released before the game dropped and more. Anyway, I apologize for the delay, so let's get into his post here that he made on September 2nd, where he claims that GameScience is aiming to launch 2 DLCs for Black Myth Wukong before they release their next game titled Black Myth Jiangziya. In addition, he claims that the game was meant to have 13 chapters, but the studio condensed all that into 6 chapters because of the budget. We'll get into more information that he mentioned over on his Discord page in a minute, but first, we gotta go over that number here. 2 DLCs? Now, I'm not sure if this recent update with the boss rush modes are part of these 2 supposed DLCs, but if this turns out to be true, I'm really curious to see what kind of content we'll see hit Black Myth Wukong in the future. While I still maintain that this title is not a Souls-like game, even though it does share some similarities with the genre, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some DLC that expanded on the game world, added several new bosses, new transformations and spells, and perhaps some weapons like many Souls-likes have done in their DLCs. Expecting something as large as Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree may be pushing it here, in my humble opinion, but perhaps something more akin to Bloodborne's The Old Hunters DLC, where that game added 3 unique areas, a few bosses, amazing bosses mind you, and some unique weapons. Heck, even something similar to Dark Souls 3's DLCs could be something quite feasible for Black Myth Wukong. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, because this information found from Ignus's Discord reveals some audio files that may shed light as to what kinds of DLCs we may end up getting with the game in future content. On Ignus's Discord, he writes that audio files were found for Buddha and Jade Emperor, and further notes that future DLCs could feature a boss fight or playable Bull King, of whom is a major antagonist in Journey to the West that would be a real treat to see in an upcoming DLC. Ignus also relays that Buddha and Jade Emperor are all likely candidates to be featured in future content within Black Myth Wukong. These characters mentioned all contain incredibly rich stories that are fundamental pillars within Chinese mythology that could be further explored in a DLC to Black Myth Wukong. and honestly, I really hope to see these figures, especially Bull King and Jade Emperor, as I think this title's artistic approach to its characters and levels could appropriately host them when woven into the story. If I were to have a gripe about Black Myth Wukong, minor one at that, with no spoilers mind you, it is that I think the game sometimes rapidly introduces certain key figures a bit too abruptly with not much time in the spotlight before the story quickly moves on to the next beat. I mean, I completely understand why a game like this takes the pace that it does, seeing as Journey to the West is an incredibly vast novel that spans more characters and moments than most multi-season TV shows have these days. So having DLC dedicated to certain characters to give them more of a spotlight would be a huge win in my book, and would further flesh out and connect to the already impressive story that is contained within Black Myth Wukong. Definitely share with me your thoughts on this in the comments below, as I really do believe that this kind of DLC, one that is more focused on specific characters and moments, would be really great to see. These additional DLCs do make sense, seeing as GameScience initially planned for the title to contain 13 chapters, and while much of the game's content outlined by these chapters were likely featured in the resulting 6 chapters that we currently have in the final game, additional DLC sequestered to the many characters and moments that didn't make it into the title could likely have been left over for DLC updates. As for when we may expect an announcement for the DLC projects, Ignus writes that we could see an announcement in the summer of next year, around the 1-year anniversary of the game. Fascinating stuff, and I definitely see some DLC hitting the game at some point, seeing as this game has made a boatload of cash, and the game's FAQ leaves open the possibility of DLC in the future. Now, for the future Black Myth games, GameScience producer Feng Ji, in an interview with IGN China back in 2020, claimed that he was interested in having a trilogy of Black Myth games, with Black Myth Wukong being the first title of the bunch. Earlier this summer, Ignus reported that 2 trademarks for future Black Myth games were filed in China, with 2 of them being Black Myth Jiangziya and the other being Black Myth Zhonghui. According to Ignus's new reporting, it appears that Black Myth Jiangziya, a game detailing the Chinese military general who helped overthrow the Shang dynasty in ancient China, will be the next Black Myth game, with Ignus also reporting that Chinese deity Nurja, also known as the Third Lotus Prince, would have some sort of presence in the second Black Myth game. While no preliminary details have surfaced about this second Black Myth title, it is safe to say that this game's combat is going to be as gripping as ever in a title featuring the legendary Jiang Ziya, with developer GameScience likely to utilize a potentially more robust combat system to accurately reflect the combat prowess and intelligence of a man like Jiang Ziya. As GameScience has already done with Black Myth Wukong by exposing ancient Chinese culture to a global audience throughout their video game, I have utmost confidence that they will do Jiang Ziya justice here, along with what Ignus reported from an earlier post claiming that the third Black Myth game would be Black Myth Zhonghui. This title would likely feature the Taoist deity of Chinese mythology of the same name, known to be the vanquisher of ghosts and evil beings, in a game that would tap into the rich history, figures, and creatures within this nation's rich stories and mythology. This entire trilogy, once complete, will outline 3 key pillars within Chinese folklore and legends, all presenting some of the nation's most treasured history and tales, all wrapped up in 3 unique video games that contain state-of-the-art graphics, gameplay, and unique storytelling. As we've seen with Black Myth Wukong, the game is clearly a hit, and with DLC heavily likely to hit the title to flesh that title out even more, the quality of these future Black Myth games is undeniably going to be quite solid. With a studio whose dedication to promoting more about Chinese mythology and ancient Chinese tradition to a world largely not familiar to it, and with the studio proven to create a mighty fine, polished, and most importantly, fun video game in Black Myth Wukong, the future of not only Wukong, but of Black Myth games in general, is incredibly promising. So yeah, the future of not only Black Myth Wukong with its DLC, but the future of Black Myth games in general is incredibly promising, and with a company so gracious to keep updating Wukong to make it better and better with new modes and functionality, we're eating well here, and we have plenty more to look forward to. As always, let me know what you'd like to see in future DLC content for Black Myth Wukong, and go ahead and find me over in this video as we go over everything going on with the God of War series in 2025. That's all I have for you in this one. I look forward to seeing you real soon in the next video.